Hey, you comic book geeks, sci-fi freaks, comic book Casey coming at you from Comic Experience Sci-Fi. We are at our own backyard at Motor City Comic Con 2024. I am with a gentleman that is going to make an old friend of mine very happy that I finally met him and am talking to him and got his autograph, and I'm going to rub it in and send her the pictures. So, Mr. Rodriguez, please introduce yourself.
What's up, everybody? My name is Edgardo Miranda-Rodriguez. I am the creator of the superhero series La Borinqueña, and I am in Novi, Michigan, at the Motor City Comic Con.
All right, now you're originally a New Yorker, right?
Yeah, well, I'm Puerto Rican, but I've kind of lived throughout New York City, Puerto Rico, Pennsylvania. I was born in Jersey, so, you know, like Tupac, I get around.
Right. Now, let me ask you, as far as comic book conventions, don't say New York, but what's your favorite one so far? Or what's the one that you feel like the most love from?
Sorry, but I have to say Puerto Rico Comic Con.
There you go.
You know, that event.
I want to hear something different than
that event is something dear and close to my heart. We were there for the very first time in 2018 when we first debuted Reconstruction, which was our crossover with DC Comics. And the reception that we received at that event in 2018 reverberates so many years later. We've made that kind of like our primary destination. Every year when we have a new book, we've always gone back to Puerto Rico to debut it, and that's the kind of most important and biggest event in the Caribbean in terms of like the Comic-Con scene. It's an incredible celebration of pop culture, very similar to the Motor City Comic Con. They bring a lot of celebrities. Ironically, Giancarlo Esposito was just there a few weeks ago with us, and he's here at this event. And it's a great celebration, and one of the things that's really dope about that event is the cosplay. Man, the cosplay level in Puerto Rico is incredible. So yeah, that's actually my favorite event out of the entire like scene of Comic Cons across the country, if not the planet.
The month that occurs, is it kind of hot for some of those cosplayer costumes?
Well, you know, it's a tropical island, so it's hot year round, you know, it's like, but it actually happens in April, which is really cool. You know, kind of like 70s and maybe even like low 80s. But it's a great event, and it's a convention center, so it's inside of, you know, a concrete bunker like this one right here. They're sweating on the way in, you know what I mean? When they get in, AC. You know?
Now, what brought this crossover about? Because a lot of people were excited when they saw your character on the cover with Wonder Woman.
Right.
So how did that come about?
So it was just weeks after Hurricane Maria hit Puerto Rico. This was this cataclysmic natural disaster that unfortunately left 4,645 lives lost, displaced over 150,000 Puerto Ricans who actually moved throughout the United States as a result. And even today, 7 years later, there's still many homes that are still rebuilding. But at the New York Comic Con, I was already scheduled to appear, and as I'm making my way to my table because I was running late, I pushed through hundreds of people, which was really kind of bizarre for Artist Alley on the first day of the event. And when I finally got to my table, there was a volunteer at the table from the Comic Con, and he kind of looked at me like, "Where were you?" And I was like, "Well, why are there so many people in this floor?" And they were like, "They're here for you." And when I looked, everybody was kind of waving, and then one of those people on the line was Dan DiDio, the former publisher of DC Comics, and he was wearing his World Classic Baseball League team hat from Puerto Rico because his wife is Puerto Rican. Okay. So he and I engaged in an incredible conversation, and we exchanged information, and within days of that meeting at New York Comic Con, we'd entered into a formal agreement with DC Comics, which allowed us to use every single character in their roster for this team up. A team up that had never happened before with any character connected to Puerto Rico. And La Borinqueña is the first superhero that really represents this island nation. And it was a great opportunity to collaborate with close to 200 creators, from Frank Miller to Gail Simone to Greg Pak to Bill Sienkiewicz, Dennis Cowan, Reggie Hundlin, even personal heroes of mine like Grammy Award-winning artist Ruben Blades, child, entertainment artist Sonia Manzano, one of the original pioneers of Sesame Street. An incredible selection of artists and writers came together to produce this book. The book became a #1 bestseller on Amazon.com for 4 months straight. And the book did so well that it kind of became part of the movement that we created, being that we're the only comic book series that's directly tied to charity work in Puerto Rico. And to date, we've raised close to $250,000. We've used that to establish a foundation and this charity work that has allowed us to award grants to nonprofits. So when you buy our books, you're actually not only reading incredible stories that are beautifully illustrated and colored, but you're also supporting our continued charity work. And the stories that I write and produce are directly tied to a lot of current issues related to Puerto Rico, from climate change to even economic issues affecting the island, but there's also a lot of classic superhero storytelling. And that team up, honestly, it was something that even to this day creates a lasting impact. It has been the book that has introduced the world to the work that we do with La Borinqueña and Puerto Rico.
Okay, now you do this work with DC, but you also have done work with Marvel, right?
Yes. So prior to working on this book, I actually was just a freelance writer. And I made my debut as a Marvel Comics writer. I actually teamed up with my good friend, Daryl McDaniels, who many know as DMC from Run DMC. We wrote a story about The Thing and Groot. And that was the first time that an English language comic book actually had Groot say, "Yo soy Groot." And that was me kind of like adding some pressure to the editorial team at Marvel. And that, honestly, that book was such a success for the two of us, but especially for me, that it really kind of like let me realize that I should go and do this on my own. So instead of kind of like feeding intellectual properties to these corporations, I decided, let me develop my own intellectual property. And I created La Borinqueña 9 months before Hurricane Maria. So by the time that natural disaster hit, I was ready. I had already an established character. That's why DC Comics came to me, because they already knew the buzz that we had generated from that book. And they knew that as a comic book property, we were the only prominent and only character that existed that was tethered already to Puerto Rico. So teaming up with us was a great opportunity, not only for DC Comics, but for Puerto Rico as well.
Yes, because honestly, I was excited when I saw that you were going to be here, because some of my Puerto Rican friends, you know, some closer than others, was very excited when the book first came out. And basically, Lourdes, this was for you as well. I got you an autographed copy. I'm going to mail it out to you. And other than that, man, you got a lot of other things going on now. And I think that I'm going to have to try to get one of everything, but I'm going to have to keep those for myself. I'm not going to mail those out.
Well, thank you so much for your time. And honestly, thank you to everyone who came out to Novi to support us. It's been an incredible event. We're very grateful for all the love and support and all the amazing people and families that we've met at this event. And thank you for taking our stories home with you. And thank you for taking some time to talk with me, bro.
No, thank you for taking the time out for us, man. We're just honored that you're here.